Welcome to Kung Fu Havoc number 2. My name is James Williams Jr. The title of this video is called Let Me Explain Something. Alright, so first off, my name is James. You got that. My 68 followers that have been watching and following and subscribing, I thank you first and foremost. Now, let me get to the nitty gritty of Let Me Explain Something. I started learning martial arts at the age of 7. Prior to that, I was fighting in the streets because my uncles forced me to as a kid. There ain't too many black kids in the world that didn't go through this shit. And back then, that shit wasn't called abuse. It was extracurricular activity. So I am the way I am because I was forced to become who I became. Fighting from ages 6 to 12, learning martial arts in between, did two things. One, it kept me out of trouble. Two, it kept me in trouble. Because when you're good at fighting, everybody wants to fight you. Okay, so until my dad put a stop to that shit, I was going around doing really bad shit. No, I own that. Two, I've been fighting for a very long time, and none of you in the world know who I am because I've never had a professional fight. All my fights have been in the street. Every fucking one of them. And they don't count because you don't exist if you fight in the streets, because back in the 80s, in the late 70s, when I was 6 and on, I was born in 73. So by 79, I should have been 6 years old. So let's see, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79. See? So 6 years old till I was 12 years old. These and these was my weapons. Started learning martial arts, started with freestyle karate. There was no katas. There was just, this is how you hit, this is how you hit, this is where you hit, this is where you hit, this is how you kick, this is how you kick, this is where you kick, this is where you kick. So from 6 to 12, I'm doing karate. But I learned karate from 7 to 3. And I had to fight people because it was kids that was this big. Well, I'm down here. As you can see, I haven't gotten much taller. And then there was my uncles who were this big. And it was either fight these giants or fight these giants. And I fought these giants because they weren't as big as these giants. Now here's the thing. These giants thought they were fighters. I was forced to become a fighter. So fighting these guys was because I was scared of these guys. And I got real good at it. And when I learned martial arts, I got even better at it. I've been jumped on a job or two. Those guys regretted that shit. I've had a sparring match or two that I have lost. But I've never lost a real fight. Henceforth, getting jumped on my job wasn't a fun thing, but it's happened. You know, having my coworker watch me get jumped on my job and then come out and say, "Oh, you're a bad motherfucker. I thought you was a phony." You know how many times I've been told I was a phony? But I'm a phony who can fight. Keep that shit in mind. Because here's the thing. When Rec and UFC and Pride and them all started making their surges in the late 80s, early 90s, in the days of Ken Shamrock, and the days of shoot fighting in China, where a guy about my size, probably about like this big, and a girl that was definitely my size, probably about this big, was beating the hell out of everybody. I was only like 17 years old when I knew about them. I had no money, I had no opportunity, and when I got 18, I put in my application for the UFC. I put in my applications for Rec. I put in my applications for Pride, ISK. If it has something to do with martial arts, you better believe that by the time I graduated from high school, my name was all over those damn applications. And there was a problem. The first problem was I was 5'3". Nobody wants a 5'3" bodyguard, especially if he's an ugly man. The second problem was I weighed $120. I never got an ounce weight on me until I joined the Army. My maximum weight was 135. And with my hip replacement now, I'm only allowed to go up to 125. So that's my goal. I got to get to 125 by 2020. So I'm going to eat more bread and work out more. Train more. But don't get this shit twisted about me being crippled and not being able to fight. Because there's nothing on earth more dangerous than a wounded animal. And I am a wounded animal. Not just in my personal real life, but in general. And you don't trap a wounded animal in a corner because you're not sure what the hell that wounded animal is going to do. So what I'm explaining in this whole concept of let me explain stuff is that don't think for a minute that I'm some kind of punk pussy washover or I'm an old has-been. I'm definitely old. I ain't never gonna be no has-been. No. Y'all don't know who I am because the right people ain't seeing my shit. The right opportunities are not dropping at my doorsteps. And for some odd-ass reason, I can't get arrested making films. Alright? But if I can make a good film, one good film, like the one that was stolen, y'all would have known who I was way back in 2010 before I joined the military and lost functionality in this hip. And gonna need new functionality in this hip. But I'm gonna die on my feet. And I'm not gonna give up until all of you know who the hell I am. And when I do die, I'm gonna be as famous as Bruce Lee, and they're all gonna be like, well, what happened to this guy? What happened to this guy? What happened to me is the simple fact that I was never given an opportunity because the only mixed breed people that people really give a flying fuck about is The Rock, in which I respect, Tiger Woods, in which I respect, but none of them are martial artists. I've been doing martial arts before a lot of y'all even came into life, and I have been turned away time and time again. Now, I don't know if it has something to do with my sensei, Master Ennis, who clearly had some incident that caused him to commit seppuku, or harikari for those who speak Japanese, seppuku for those who speak Chinese. American English, it means suicide. But even he had a problem with me because I could fight, but I couldn't do Tosan. I couldn't do Tungu. I couldn't do Naharate forms. I couldn't do Taekwondo forms. But if you got me on that freestyle sparring, I was unstoppable. But there were no scouts in our dojos. No one gives a flying shit about the dojos in Virginia. No one, not really. They don't come there and say, oh, I'm going to make a martial artist out of you and turn you into a movie star. They don't do that. Because if it was the case, word on the street would have got me there. I've beaten many a black belt because a belt really holds up your pants. I got trained by a Green Beret on my job. I hadn't been in a real fight since I was 15. And the one time that I could have been in a real fight, I wound up in handcuffs for driving a stolen car. So there's some videos out here on YouTube of me with my hands tied, fighting. Because when I got handcuffed, I had already been trained how to fight with my hands bound. You don't see shit like that now. You see shit with me being blindfolded. But the right people ain't seeing my stuff. So I'm giving all of you here, especially my 68 followers, permission to share my stuff. Share it. Post it. Help me go viral. Because without you, I'm nothing. And with you, I can be so much more. Now, I'm a pretty nice guy. I'm an asshole, but I'm a nice guy. I own all my flaws. I don't dick people around. I don't fuck people over. And I do my damnedest to honor my word. Because it's all I have. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If I'm not fully capable or physically capable of doing it, I'm going to call you and let you know. I ain't going to leave you hanging. No. I'm not going to be that guy who says, I got your back, but I'm way back here. I've been in many situations where I'm the biggest target when I walk in the room. And why is that? Because they look at me and they see the same thing you see. Oh, he's a short guy. He's 5'3.5". The Army doesn't do half, so I'm 5'3". Because they don't go up, they gave me less. So here's the thing. Fighting is what I do. It's the only damn thing I've ever been good at. And I've had to prove this to people time and time again. That when you underestimate your enemy stomps your face inside out. That if you think because you're bigger and you're stronger, I'm going to tell you how fights work. The biggest dog in a fight don't always win. toughest motherfucker in the fight that can take a beating as good as he can give one generally winds up on top. I've always been tough. I ain't never been strong. But I know how to fight. I know how to get through combat stress. I know how to fight dirty. I know how to fight clean. I know how to keep it real. I know what works. I know what doesn't. There are going to be plenty of people who are going to tell you that I'm full of shit. Come prove it. Now, there are going to be plenty of people who tell you pressure points don't work. Well, let me put it to you the way it was taught to me when I learned Kempo. If I get through your defenses and I get you in the right grappling lock, pressure points do work. This is for all you BJJ fans, because you're in a triangle choke and they're choking you out, straight up and down. They're choking you out. So they're putting enough pressure on your throat to close the air so that you can go to sleep. But pressure points don't work. Well, let me put it to you in reality. Pressure points work if they are applied properly, which goes back to fact number 1. Let's get this shit over with because I'm about to piss off everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and be honest about it. Fact number 1 is I got to get to you. That's the first fact. If we going at it and I can't get through your blocks, if you good and you blocking everything I throw, and I can't get to you, I got to work your body until I can. Because otherwise pressure points are useless. Now if I get through your defenses and I hit you square in the throat, by the way, your larynx is a pressure point. So if I can hit you square in the throat, I can stop you from breathing. And if you can't breathe, you can't hurt me. And it don't matter if I don't use pressure points. Your sternum is a big pressure point. It also cuts off the breath. So if I hit you in your sternum and I get through all of these blocks, I stop the breathing, I stop the body. Now, there's some things that we need to bring up, and I'll have to make a second video on that, depending on where we are. Yeah, I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to bring up this shit again. When I put in my applications for the places that I named, Pride, Rec, the first MMA thing that came out, I can't remember, ISK, because at that time, Ernie Reyes Jr. had went professional, and I was like, okay, well, if he can go professional, and I really idolize this guy, I can go professional. Wasn't too long after Ernie Reyes Jr. went professional, Jason David Frank went professional. I'm like, okay, well, if all these guys can go professional, what's the problem with me? The problem was simple. I ain't weigh enough. They didn't have a Super 5 Phantom weight, and like I said, I didn't get weight until I hit 37 years old, and I didn't gain weight until I got in the Army. Go back and check the video. And every email that they had sent me or return message was, you need to get your weight up. You need to get your weight up. We don't care that you're 5'3", but you need to get your weight up. And I would send them back that my metabolism won't let me gain weight. And my weight shouldn't have anything to do with my fighting capabilities. And their reply was, you need to get your weight up. Okay. So a few years later, I turned 37. I'm in the Army. I get damaged. I turn 40. I turn 41. I get a hip replacement between 41 and 42 years old. Let's see, Dad's been dead 40 years, so 45, 44, 43, 42. Dad's only been dead 40 years. So I got it between my ages of 42 and 41. I've only had my hip replacement between 4 and 5 years. So, in the turn of the new year. So yeah, 5 years for the hip replacement. Dad's been dead for 4 because it just turned a new year when he died. So after I get my hip replacement, so I'm 42, I get my hip replacement, and all of a sudden, UFC and them have my weight class. Now they have the 135 and down, because they only had the 135 and up at first. And by this time with my hip replacement, I lost a lot of weight because the doctor said that I couldn't go to 135. I had to stay at 121, 125. And guess what? About that time, UFC had my weight class. So here's why I piss you off. Don't worry, I'm wearing shorts. This here is why they're never going to let me into a professional ring, ever. But before my hip replacement, I talked to my friends. One of them knew a guy who was doing MMA. And I'll tell y'all this story before, so I'm going to give you the condensed version. He asked me what I would do if somebody was coming in for the body slam. This is that person. This is illegal. This is the guy coming at me. I'm going to elbow him in his shoulder blades, and I'm going to knee him in his guts. Found out that was illegal. Just like this third vertebrae here, right there, can cripple a person. But I'm sure all you MMA and other martial art guys are going to tell me that I'm full of shit. Well, I'm going to tell you, no, I'm not, and yes, it can. Because I know that if I knee you in the stomach and you bend over, because you're going to automatically bend over. I have never kneed a person who has taken a full-powered knee and not bent the fuck over. And I'm going to power bomb my fist into that spot that I just showed you on the back of your neck. Guess what? In the MMA world, in the UFC, that is illegal. But I'm 5'3". And in my world, I'm about surviving. So when I knee you and I elbow you in that fucking spot, this fight's over. Because I'm going to stop you permanently. And you're going to have people who watch this video and they're going to say, James doesn't know what he's talking about. James is full of shit. And then I'll tell you, why don't you go ask someone who's had that shit done to them that's probably sitting in a wheelchair? Because it was explained to me by certain teachers that certain bones can be snapped and careers can come to an end really, really quickly. And no, I did not take this from the Frank Dukes book of martial arts. I still respect Frank Dukes, by the way, even if he is supposedly a fraud. But he has inspired a lot of us to get into martial arts just like Bruce Lee did. But we're leaving Frank Dukes out of this because I ain't met Frank Dukes and I don't know if the man knows this shit or not. I don't know if Kickboxer, Bloodsport, whatever one Van Damme did that was about Frank Dukes is real or not. I also don't care because it was a great movie. But the fact of the matter is, when you're hitting people, they feel pain. When you get hit, you feel pain. Pain is not a little tick. It can be, but no, I'm going to tell you, the only people I know for sure that you are going to fight that aren't going to feel as much pain as Thai fighters. And I ain't talking about American Thai fighters. I'm talking about the Tony Jahs and the motherfuckers going around kicking palm trees and shit. And the kids that are standing there, and I said kids, they start them young, like 4 or 5 years old, maybe 6. And they beat them with iron rods, and they'll harden the body. So I don't know how much of that still happens, but back in the 80s and the 90s, that was a thing. And you harden the body, but it's only certain parts of the body you can harden. You can harden your abs and your obliques. You can harden up your back a little bit, but you can't harden up the inner elbow. You can't harden up certain joints and stuff. And to make things a little bit simpler, when you do mantis or snake, your target is soft flush, pressure point type areas. But a lot of martial artists are going to see this and say, James is full of shit. So I'll be full of shit, and you can see the next video because this video is 20 minutes long.